think, talk, read, and write about it. Writing being the ultimate assessment. Whether you're a newcomer, beginner, intermediate, or advanced, they must write. I like it. You hear that? And don't write about the obvious. If not, how many of you have complained that everybody writes the same thing? Elementary school, middle school, high school, even college. They all sound the same because they're only writing about what they see. We need them to write about what they think. And they need to talk about it. They've got to talk about it. The best way to get students then engaged in see, think, talk, read, write about it is with mini lessons. Mini lessons, measurable, tangible. Mini lessons that are short. It's an increment. It's a chunk. It's a bite. And they've got to be intentional. Because we only have 15 minutes. I have a 15-minute mini lesson. That means that if my English class is 1 hour, I have 4 mini lessons. If my English class is 45 minutes, 3 mini lessons, and you get the idea. If it's half hour, that means 2 mini lessons. 2 mini lessons, they are targeting the standard, the objective, the goal. And I'm using tools for it, such as readings, fiction, non-fiction, literature, social studies, science. I'm using a tool to teach the standard with, but in that mini lesson, we need to be very targeted because students have very, very little time to grab it, to own it, to take a bite of it. What am I talking about then? Inspire them. Like we have to inspire them, motivate them to not just see it, we need to think about it. Not just think about it, we need to talk about it. The more you see it, the more you talk. The more you talk, the more you'll write. Writing being the ultimate assessment. And how do we do this? Keeping in mind that we're working with students that need comprehensible input. And a lot of it. A lot of comprehensible input to create that multicultural, that multilingual environment. That multicultural, multilingual environment. To really create that ELD culture. And what happens when Julio feels comfortable enough in that ELD environment? They take a risk. They use the language. They own the language. Now we have somebody that can actually take it further, take more risks, dig deeper, read closely, and own, transfer. Not only the standards, self-esteem. The self-esteem they need to succeed. We can't do this without the parents, so we've got to inform the parents. Yes, this is the instructional routine in the classroom, and this is an instructional routine in the classroom, and this is how students empower themselves. This is how I release information to the students. This is why homework is so important. I have released the responsibility to the students. The parents need to understand this. They got to understand this. English is difficult. I'm not joking. My students used to joke a lot. I was like, no, joke. Yeah, teacher, joke. No, joke. Yeah, teacher, joke. No, joke. Yeah, teacher, joke. No, the yolk is yellow. This is a joke. Oh, yeah, the yolk is yellow.
Yolk es la yema del huevo.
It's a common error. It's a common error. And it has to do with the translinguistic transfers. English is very hard.
Oh my God.
You're familiar with this? Every time I see this one, I feel like this. And then I'm going to have you read this. Go ahead, read it. Hiccup, hiccuping. There are 8 pronunciations for O-U-G-H. 8. And then you guys in English have long vowels and short vowels. In Spanish, they're one size. A, E, I, O, U. Done. But here we have long and short. And my students just say long and short vowels. No, they're not long and short vowels. They're vowels. Everybody go like this. If it has a tinkle, it's not English. It has to tickle. And I'm not joking, Julio. I have the same issue transitioning. I had my students writing in journals for a long time. Pull out your science journals, math journals, all kinds of journals. Till I got help. If you're sitting in this audience and you're wondering, how can I get empowered with all these new tools, all these new strategies, practices, all these practices? The best way to do it is shadowing. You gotta be humble and go get help. Be humble and ask to sit in somebody's class. Be humble and ask another teacher to come to your class. Ask the principal to go sit in another class so that teacher can be released to me. Or vice versa. We've gotta get help. Often we want to do it on our own. We got to get help. And shadowing is a great way to do it. Great way to do it. Now I want you to look at this visual. Please see. Take a look. I'm sure this isn't the first time you see this. It's probably not the first time you see this, but I want you to see it from a different point of view. So take a look. Now, if you know me already, that's not enough. If you're going to see it, you better be thinking about it. Turn to your partner and tell him, what are you thinking? Go.
Okay, on the left side.
If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. Thank you, Julio. So what have I done? I've given you only 15 seconds. 15 seconds is a long time to at least get information out, exchange ideas, and be ready to share. The more you talk, the more you share. The more you share, the more knowledge you gain. The more knowledge you gain, the more you're going to write about. The more you're going to write about, even if it's inventive writing, even if it's just a few pictures, you're trying to commit to writing your ideas. But you can't do it alone. You have to be with a group, with a pairs, with a group of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. You got to share it. Why is this important on the visual? Because we all know what that means. We all know what that means. But you know what it means to me? I'm giving the students self-esteem. Because they're not only accountable for the long-hanging fruit, they're accountable for those apples right on the top. They need to be able to jump to get those. They need to be able to have the motivation to be inspired to jump. So are you giving them enough to jump? Intervention is not just taking the children up to the fruit, the long-hanging fruit. Intervention also means empowering them with the ability to use their metacognitive abilities, metalinguistic abilities in an ELD environment where they take a jump. They take the risk, use the language, own the language, so they can reach out to those apples even when I'm not there. Making that choice on their own. I'm going to jump and I'm going to grab those apples. For that, the student needs to experience every single day productive struggle. Learning a language is not easy. Learning a language at the same time as they teach me at grade level curriculum is not easy. They're learning at grade level curriculum at the same time as they learn English, and they're trying to survive. To survive, you need self-esteem. You need to know that that struggle, that hard work, those frustrations are part of succeeding. But if we're going to empower students with the ability to embrace productive struggle, we need to celebrate productive struggle. We've got to celebrate it. Hard work is great. You're frustrated? Yay! How do we alleviate the productive struggle so they have more and more access to more struggles? Is instructional routines. There are so many out there. So many out there. Obviously, you need to find the ones that are most comfortable to you, but you gotta learn new ones. And one instructional routine the students love is knowing that we start whole group, mini lesson, and we move to small group mini lessons. Small group mini lessons. Small group mini lessons. That means I know once, twice, 3 times a week, I'm with the teacher, or more of course, and I get personalized attention. The information gets differentiated. English acquisition gets amplified. Because me, the teacher, understand student needs, and the teachers understand how to relate to me. Information or what they're responsible for in small groups. I do a lot of model lessons about this. I see the success, I see how students react to it, so I'm a huge believer. The most commonly assessed standards are meant to be transferred to the students over a length of a school year. So what am I trying to say here? Don't rush, don't rush, don't rush. We have a school year to transfer standards. A whole year. So why are we rushing to transfer them but the first report card, second report card? We're rushing. We're putting everybody under stress when we have a whole year to transfer the standards. And in many cases, a whole elementary career to transfer standards. So give the students the opportunity to take a bite, get a chunk, and increment, and assess and evaluate progress, so that the student knows it's not punitive. The student knows it's just about informing the students, the teacher, how much I do know. So the teacher can use what I know and go from there. So don't rush. Plan your mini lessons. Be focused, intentional, and allow yourself, take the time. Take the time. Let's take, for example, one of the most commonly tested standards, cause and effect. Curious, I took a pencil out of my pocket and touched a strand of the web. Immediately there was a response. The web, plucked by its menacing occupant, began to vibrate until it was a blur. Anything that had brush, claw, or wing against that amazing snare would have been thoroughly entrapped. 4th grade. Wow. So for my students, none of this made sense. To my students, it sounded like this. Blah, 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 pencil. Blah, 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 pocket. Blah, 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 begun until blah, 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 blah. So what do I need to do then? I need to amplify. Curious. See, think. Today I don't have the time for talk, but imagine, see, think, talk. We move on. Curious, I took a pencil out of my pocket and touched a strand of the web. Immediately there was a response. The web, plucked by its menacing occupant, began to vibrate. Until it was a blur. It was vibrating so much. Ooh, it's scary. Wow, it's menacing. Anything that had brush, claw, or wing against that amazing snare would have been thoroughly entrapped. Wow. So what am I doing? Kids are going, blah, 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 picture. Blah, 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 picture. If anything, they're excited. If anything, they're paying attention. If anything, they're getting phonemic awareness, inflection, intonation. My excitement and enthusiasm is being transferred. If anything, as a teacher, I need to decide what has to be taught and what I can let go of. Because I only have mini lessons, and I'm chasing what? I'm chasing cause and effect. The spider is just a tool to teach cause and effect with. So do I need all these words? Definitely not. I'm going to release some of these words to word walls, concept walls. I'm going to throw away brush, snare, and pluck. I don't need that for cause and effect, but I need these words. I don't have time for all these words. I have a mini lesson ahead of me, and it has to be intentional. So I need to plan, what could I do with these words? How many of them can be released to the student? Homework, flipping the classroom, learning centers, working in pairs, researching it themselves. What I do know is I need to teach this. Menacing occupant, thoroughly entrapped, first read, first sitting, menacing. I have 5 days to teach it. So today, I'm just gonna have a little fun. Menacing, entrapped. And kids, let's have a little laughter. You gotta bring them in. And lots and lots and lots of books. Lots and lots and lots of books. That changes everything. The question, of course, is to front load or not to front load. To front load or not to front load, that's a decision you need to make. But don't make it because you want to make it easier for them. Make it because it's important to front load. Because the question then is to allow students to struggle or not. That's very personal. Depending on you and your students. But should they struggle? Yes. They should struggle. It should be celebrated. Turn to your partner. What are you thinking? Go.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. My students sometimes see words they've never seen before. Uncomfortable, insecure, and just give up learning because it becomes difficult with it. So picture the outcome, like with our emphasis and showing them pictures or sounds, things like that.
If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. If I'm going to release responsibility, I need to be gaining that control again. I release the control, I need to gain the control. And this is going to happen a lot. A lot. In 15 minutes, the students should turn and talk at least 3 times. 15 to 30 seconds. But give children the ability to see, think, talk. In 15 minutes, they should at least turn and talk 3 times. Committing their thoughts to conversation, which later will become committing their thoughts to writing. So we as teachers, what do we need to do? Well, when I plan my 15-minute mini lessons, I need to keep in mind a release of responsibility, because I'm not after the student memorizing. Okay? I'm not after kill drilling a standard or a topic. I'm into transferring the information to the student, which means I've done enough. They've been exposed to enough over 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a topic, a theme, enough for them to start to own it. That means they choose to use it. Not because they're going to be tested, because it makes sense. I'm able to communicate better when I know. I'm able to learn better when I know. I'm better at using my primary language to inform my second language. I have transferred it. It's mine. When we do gradual release of responsibility, of course we start with small steps. The training wheels. Making sure that even though they struggle, they don't necessarily have to fall and hurt themselves, but they should struggle. And what do I do then? I release. I release. And why do I have to do this carefully, yet having the student struggle enough to appreciate their hard work? Because along with my instruction and the gradual release of responsibility that I'm providing the student with, I need to make sure that that release of responsibility goes along with enough activities to build their self-esteem. Why is that? Because elementary school looks like this, but middle school looks like this. And if they are empowered enough that they feel metacognitive, metalinguistic, they know that over time they will own it, they will transfer it, then they'll have the self-esteem to go forward. Yes, I don't speak perfect English, but I can communicate, I can be comprehensible, and I can show what I know. In every one of those classrooms that hopefully have a multilingual ELD culture within them. Simple. For as long as I taught in San Diego, California, we used to do model, shared, guide, apply. And we applied and then we test. Model, shared, guide, apply, test. We never really discussed back then transfer. So when you don't have the concept of transfer internalized, then you do model, share, guide, apply, and you test. But what happens if you test after apply? Then you're going to start memorizing quite a bit, killing, drilling quite a bit, getting frustrated quite a bit, expecting them to know it before they should know it, because you did not allow that responsibility to be released over a whole theme, a whole half a year, a whole year, or the elementary career. So are we focusing enough on student needs as we drive the goals? That's a personal question, but one that you should ask yourself every single day, every single time you write a mini lesson. Is my mini lesson focused on the standard assessed? Really important. I already used the word standards too many times. I think teaching standards is the least we should do. It's the least we should do to teach standards. Now, how they're tested is we can argue over that. But standards are the least we should do. I think our job is to magnify the standards. I have a standard, now I need to amplify it. That's my job. And how do I do it? With comprehensible input. Comprehensible input. Start from where the students are. Start from what they know. You start from there and then you amplify. You magnify the standard through comprehensible input. I tell you, every time you say, I don't have the time to get a video clip. I don't have the time to go get a poster. Oh, I don't know what the picture cards are. Oh, I'm embarrassed. I don't want to act it out. Oh, I've taught that so many times. Every time you don't do all those things, you choose to teach it again. You're choosing to teach it again. If that reality stays in the closet. They bought me a new program, but all the stuff is in the closet. It's still shrink wrapped. Because I know how to do it. We need to be humble, and learn more about how children learn. So that the children have access to you, you have access to them, so they have the self-esteem to take a risk, use the language, own the language, kindergarten through 6th grade, 7th grade, through middle school, high school, college, it doesn't matter. Today I'm using a lot of elementary school examples, but it's not about the material, it's about how you use the material. So please be aware, where is that zone of approximate development? Where is that zone of approximate development? So I'll let you read this. Go ahead, read. Awesome. So what happens with the training wheels? We let go, we let go, we let go, and the student takes over and runs with it. I've said already, mini lessons. They should be 15 minutes. Can it be done? Oh, definitely. I used to be skeptical, but now I'm a believer because for years now, I've been doing mini lessons, and I know that if the students understand all the instructional routines, if the students understand that it's intentional, that there is an objective, that whatever we do in that mini lesson will empower them to take more risks and own the curriculum faster, which means transfer, then they're going to go with you. If a student feels that they're learning, they're going to go with you. They trust you. But here's the secret, or the challenge. What is the challenge? A mini lesson must stay mini. If you cannot stay to 15 to 20 minutes, you're trying to do too much. And if you're doing too much, it's because you have forgotten that they don't have to master it there and then. That you're going to transfer over time. You have a school year, not just the first report card. I know, easy for me to say, because I know a lot of the private school systems around the world are on top of the teachers to meet the standards by this date. But we've got to all work with the administrators, owners of schools around the world, and explain to them how important it is to acknowledge how students learn. And it takes time to establish the standards and make them solid for the rest of their lives. Here's the enemy: fear. I taught kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade in San Diego, California. Then I taught upper grades, middle school, high school. But with the little kids, even right back then, I used to stand by the door and go, good morning, and every single student had to answer this question before they walked in the room. Where's fear? And they had to answer anything they wanted, but they couldn't say, I'm bringing it with me. So I would say, Marisa, where's fear? I left it in the car. They got very creative. Marisa, where's fear? I left it in the car. Good, welcome. Where's fear? I left it in the closet. Where's fear? It's on top of my bed. Where's fear? I left it on the dining room table. They got really funny. Julio, good morning. Where's fear? I killed it. Everybody had a Julio, huh? Turn to your partner, tell him the name of your Julio. Go.
Amar. Amar.
Okay, this is not a therapy session. This is not a therapy session. Clap once. Clap twice. Fear is the number one enemy. Fear is the number one enemy. That means you cannot be the source of fear. I'm going to say that again. Fear is the biggest enemy in the classroom. So be very careful that you are not the source of fear. Because you have not changed your habits, your beliefs, your strategies. You haven't changed your understanding of how children learn, so you become punitive. Very careful. Very careful. Second enemy, time. How do we buy time? There's no way you can get through a mini lesson successfully if your students don't have practical tools at their fingertips and understanding how they learn. Instructional routines, I'm going to say it again, should be predictable, anticipated, welcomed, appreciated. Because these instructional routines help me learn and I feel a lot safer. A lot safer. Let me give you a visual that I love because I'm a chocoholic. I want you to think of your school year as a chocolate cake. And the school year, you have 10 units of instruction. Just for the sake of saying a number. You have 10 units of instruction, 10 topics of instruction, 10 themes of instruction. What I'm suggesting today is that you pull one of the themes, one of the units, one of the topics. And then you spend 3 weeks taking a bite at it. Chunk it, increments. Don't eat the whole piece in one sitting. What I'm suggesting is that you divide your units into the time you do have, your instructional days, instructional hours and minutes, and say, okay, here's my unit, now let's nibble at it for 1 week. If that's what the math tells you. Now some students are going to take their time to embrace it, to listen, to be part of the discussion. And then there's going to be Julio. I know it, we all have it. But you know what? I'm joking about Julio. But let me remind you, Julio has the right to learn. All of the Julios have a right to learn. And that is our job. To do what? Magnify, amplify, engage, give them the tools to learn with. I know you know this, but it's a very, very, very different thing to just teach for memorization and for the test than it is to amplify. Hector, I'm still a little confused over this amplify instead of simplifying. Simplifying means that a lot of times teachers, even though the curriculum has given them this topic, and this set of standards, they say, oh, but they don't speak English, so I'm going to go to this other set of standards, to these other materials that I kept from the last adoption. That means you are simplifying it rather than amplifying it. Because even a newcomer can be engaged if you are engaging them. Amplify instead of simplify. It doesn't make sense that the rest of the class is learning earth changes, earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanoes, and then Julio leaves the classroom to go to English class and they're learning what's inside the refrigerator. Well, what's inside the refrigerator did not give me any power to go back and have a discussion about earth changes. Why am I learning earth changes over here and confused? Then instead of getting help over here, I'm learning about ceiling, floor, window, door. Ceiling, floor, window, door. Repeat after me. Ceiling, floor, window, door. Well, Julio now knows ceiling, floor, window, door. He goes back to the other classroom. Oh, and then there's an earthquake. The tectonic plates were shifting. And Julio's going, I have no idea. I wasn't empowered at all in my English class to succeed in my English language arts class. Science, social studies, literature, chemistry. I have not been empowered at all. Whether it is in person or remotely. See, think, talk, read, write about it. Here's the key. What an easy instructional routine. No matter what it is, what's in front of me, elementary school, middle school, high school, college, I better see, think, talk, read, write about it. And what is it? The standard. Yeah, simple. Let's do some simple routine here. This is the most basic routine. We did a little bit of it with the polar bear. So let's do another one. Simply, we're going to do a story walk, a picture walk. Are we ready? Everybody see. Think. And the next step will be talk. The more I see, the more I think. The more I think, the more I talk. Which means when we read, it makes a lot more sense. And when I write, I have a lot more to talk about. And commit to writing. But let's not just talk about what we saw. Let's go beyond it. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Just like I did with the polar bear. It's not enough that he's an optical illusion and he's an artist or a polar bear. No, we need to think about the whole environment. So let's look at this. If you take a little closer look, now we have smoke coming out of the chimney. So I want you to see the smoke coming out of the chimney. See it? Think about it. Infer. Go beyond the obvious. Now I want you to turn to your partners and share 5 reasons why there's smoke coming out of the chimney. Go.
Cooking, there is fire in the house. Child is playing with matches.
Just to feel warm because it doesn't look like it's very cold outside.
Clap once. Clap twice. You see how the instructional routine is starting to cement? Teacher, there was not enough time. No, there was enough time. There was enough time. Well, teacher, it's because they're cooking. It's because it's cold. The fireplace is on to be warmer. It's because I was in Monterey, California, and a teacher goes, because the family is getting high. Monterey, California, there you have it. There's a lot of reasons why there's smoke coming out of the chimney. And then there's arguments. No, the house is not on fire. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. No, it's not. There's no smoke coming out of the windows.
Right.
Oh, Julio goes, there's no smoke coming out of the windows because the fire just started. Guys, they're going beyond the obvious. And aren't we asking them to go beyond the obvious every single day? I love it when people go, read, close, read, close, read, close, read, but they never taught close read. And if they're going to close read, they better close read pictures to start with. They better. And yes, can we take something as simple as this picture from kindergarten to upper grades? Yes. Can we take this on to high school? Why not? It's not the material. It's about how you use the material. We can use it across all grade levels. Same picture. It doesn't matter that this picture came from a kindergarten book. It takes practice, lots and lots of practice. We need to be humble enough to take a closer look at this. Today I only have an hour. Take a closer look at this and start practicing the 15-minute mini lesson. Before doing it, practice writing a mini lesson. Just writing the mini lesson. Mini lessons for whole group, mini lessons for small group. Laughter is the genetic disposition for learning. Laughter. Everybody laugh out loud. Louder. Louder. Yes. Clap once. Clap twice. Shimmy. I see you. The lady in the red. There you go. That was good. Guys, when you laugh, you clap. You shimmy, you stand up, you spin around, you sit again, you're sending blood to the brain. Blood to the brain is like water to a plant. You water the plant lives. You don't water the plant dies. And then you're wondering why your students are not paying attention. There's no blood in their brain because they've been sitting there for 40 minutes. 15-minute mini lessons. 15-minute mini lessons. Laughter is a genetic disposition for learning. And it's not about the material. It's about how you use the material to drive the standards taught in the context you have chosen. Yes, you need energy, you need passion, vision, and discipline. But most of all, you need patience. Yes, huh? If you don't have patience, change your career. We're not yoking, huh? No yoke. No yoke. Please share your thoughts. What are you thinking? Tell your partner.
I love this one because I'm joking about Leon, but you don't do because I have 3 students that I was thinking of that were so
Well, I like that. I missed that whole thing. I'm joking about Leon.
Excellent. Clap once. Clap twice. Teacher, I didn't finish. Then on the next turn and talk. But teacher, on the next turn and talk. But teacher, write it down. Write it. You didn't finish talking about it? Write it. And give it to them. They can take it home. Once upon a time, there was a little girl. Her name was Fran. It was spring. It was beautiful. The bees were buzzing. The flowers were colorful. And the puppy was so excited because she wanted to learn how plants grow. So she ran into the kitchen and said, oh my God, if I want this plant to be as beautiful as me, then she probably has to eat what I like to eat. So she ran into the refrigerator and got the stuff she loves to eat, and she thought, this plant is going to be beautiful. And the puppy's going, turn to your partner, what is the puppy thinking? Go. So, she gets frustrated, she throws the plant out into the patio, but then what happens? The plant is getting a little bit of sun, the breeze is blowing, it rains, the sun is shining, there's bees, there's butterflies, and the plant not only grows, it blooms. So the plant, she understands how plants grow. I've done this activity with high school students, and they're laughing. And that is the genetic disposition for learning. Not only that, they're using language. They're taking the risk and producing language. They're turning and talking. And they're respecting each other's level of English acquisition. Boom, microphone. And why do they do that? Because I've modeled it over and over again. I give them respect, they give me respect. I give them respect, they give me respect. Now I want you to do this, and this is going to be challenging because of the large group, and I don't know if all of you have paper and pencil. So since I don't know that you have paper and pencil, I want you to just work with your partner, okay? I want you to look at that picture and think of words. How many words could you write on that picture? If you're using this picture to drive a vocabulary, all the way from survival words to rigorous academic vocabulary, what would you write? So start thinking with your partner, start throwing out words, colors, go ahead.
Balls, dog, cookies,
Come on, words, keep talking. How many words do you see?
Girl. Little girl. hot, happiness, hot was a place, peace, table,
One last chance.
chair, spoon,
Clap once, clap twice.
shadow.
Do you see the power of a picture walk? A picture walk is not just for kindergarten, first and second grade. A gallery walk, a marathon, pictorial walk, utilizing cueing systems, whatever you want to call it. A picture is worth 1,000,000 words, but you need to give them the time. Those words you come up with become lists. That list becomes sentences. Sentences become paragraphs. Whether they do it independently or not, whether it's a shared writing experience or not, whether they're using just inventive writing, whether they're just struggling and mixing the 2 languages, the 3 languages, it doesn't matter. They are committing themselves to the work. And every step they take is a positive step towards becoming multilingual. Multilingual. English acquisition should work in tandem with content. The content the students are accountable for. I know this doesn't work in every school or every system this way, but an effort has to be made to align the 2. Vertical alignment between English acquisition standards and content standards. So that if Julio is learning about earth changes and goes to ELT, they're teaching earth changes. I go back and I have much more language, a lot more language to discuss earth changes. In the core, we're talking about cause and effect. Well, then Julio should go over here to ELT, ESL, ELD, TESOL, TOEFL, ELD, and learn about cause and effect. So that when Julio goes back, I have words to express myself about cause and effect. And the content, earth changes, because I didn't go over here to learn about what's inside the refrigerator or ceiling, floor, window, door. I don't need ceiling, floor, window, door. I need to be able to empower myself with enough knowledge to succeed in the core instruction. For middle school, it's a little more challenging, but it doesn't take a lot of time to run over to the literature class and go, what are you guys reading about? What are you reading about? So I can use it in my English class. Run out to see chemistry teacher. Chemistry, what are you talking about? Well, let me include that maybe into my English class. So that the student knows there's a relationship between learning the language and using the language to learn. If one thing happens or is done in tandem with another thing, the 2 things happen at the same time. For that to happen, I need to be able to be metacognitive. For this suggestion that I'm providing or sharing with you today, I'm suggesting this works in tandem. English acquisition with content standards. They've got to be metacognitive. They've got to be metalinguistic. They have to have routines mastered. Let's talk about earth changes. What is the standard? Cause and effect. Well, what am I going to do now as a core teacher? Well, we're going to read about it. I read it at grade level, 4th grade. I read the passage. For many students, all they heard was blah 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 blah. So how do I engage those students? They've got to be engaged. So they need to listen to the passage, which was lifted from a 3-page reading. And I lifted the passage from a 3-page reading because it's the most powerful passage to teach the standard with and the language of cause and effect. Yet, I bring the student in. I reel him in. A picture. See, think, talk, read and write. See, think, talk, read and write. It's not enough to talk about the destruction when the tectonic plates shift and they create an earthquake. It's important to talk about the emotions. See, think, talk, read, and write. Imagine now what the students are going to write about. They have a lot more to write about because they talked a lot about it. And we know now that it's not enough to just see. We have to be able to think. Because when they read, it's not enough to just know what it says. I need to know what does it mean. Not only know what does it mean, how does it work? By the way, the PowerPoint, I'm going to give it to TESOL, and TESOL hopefully will put it on the site, and you can loot it. Okay. That's not a good word, huh? What am I talking about, guys? in the little time we have together. If you walk away with anything today, I really want you to walk away with the fact that when you're teaching English, students need to go beyond just the language. They need to be empowered to read and write about it. What does it say? What does it mean? How does it work? Hector, easier said than done. Not if you have comprehensible input. And we discuss the tectonic plates. And we act it out. And we get children to move and rub shoulders and act like tectonic plates. And then we look at the map. And they might still be confused, but they're having fun. At least they don't go home and say, I don't want to go back to school. They go home and they say, my teacher's crazy. I don't speak English, but I want to go back to school. What a difference, huh? And we provide all this comprehensible input. I hate to say it again, but every time you don't provide comprehensible input, let me say that again. Every time you don't provide comprehensible input, you're choosing to teach it again. Tsunamis. It's not enough to have all these pretty pictures if we don't go beyond the science into the impact, the emotions, so that the writing becomes rich. It's not just about what causes an earthquake, it's about what happens to us, humans, in the context of an earthquake, tsunami, volcano. English speakers, English learning, I forgot the word. English language acquisition has to work in tandem with the content. Okay, has to work in content. Something else that is very, very important now, and especially for English language learners, is word work, of course. Teacher, I recognize that word. Teacher, I have not seen that word. Teacher, I'm curious about that word. So how can we handle this in a fun environment? Easy, annotation. All students should be annotating constantly. But for English language learners, it's crucial. Julio, which words have you seen? Well, teacher, I've seen shaking, I've seen rock, I see in the passage surface, I know that, I know waves. Also cracks, yeah, ground. I know these words, yeah. The ones I don't think I know, I don't know them. Teacher, I need masses, I'm gonna need shifting, powerful, trusting, okay. And which ones are you most curious about? Well, I'm really into these ones. And I know cracks, but I want to see pictures of how the earth cracks. So what am I talking about? Annotation. Along with rereading for multiple purposes. The same passage I lifted from a 3-page reading. Wait, Hector, are you telling me that at 3-page reading, you only take one passage? Yes, for direct instruction. The rest of the reading is released to the students. But they don't speak English, there's audio. But there's no audio. There's pictures. But there's no pictures. You have the wrong book. What was my definition of being multilingual? Go as far as you can, no excuses, only solutions. We got to release a responsibility. It's very difficult, guys, I know. It's very hard to release a responsibility because we need to release it knowing that they're not ready yet, but they're going to get there over time. So for this lesson, I'm going to release to them shaking rod, wave, surface, opening. I'm not going to spend time on that, just like I did with the spider. But I am going to be teaching teacher direct instruction of masses, shifting, powerful, trusting, earthquake. Why? It's not only important to the content, it's important to the standard, cause and effect. Okay, I've done all this work, but now I need to amplify it. That means that Julio, who is a beginner, along with newcomers and low intermediate, will come to me in a small group. In that small group, I'm going to help them transfer using a lot more comprehensible input. What are you talking about, Hector? You're still responsible for this passage, Julio. But now what I'm going to do is amplify it. What do you mean, teacher? I'm going to lift some of the key details and drop them into a more comprehensible text. We hook the students with an activity. We move into the passage. What does it say? What does it mean? How does it work? For English language learners, oral language development and how language works is going to be crucial. I take the oral language development. I pick up the key details. I lift the key details, I drop them into a new lesson, a new mini lesson. Key details, more comprehensible input. I also know they need more how language works. So what do? I pay attention to the standard, and I go and find the conjunctions, the transitions, and the prepositions that help a student express themselves in the context of cause and effect. I isolate them. I teach them to Julio. Now Julio has access to the language of cause and effect, the key details from the reading, all of the other comprehensible input. Well, he has a much better chance to succeed. A much better chance of succeed. I'm looking at my seconds and they're up. So we're not going to share your thoughts. I'm going to wrap it up. If you heard anything today, please remember, whatever standard you're teaching, you have to teach it many times, multiple encounters, but please in multiple contexts. As we wrap it up today, don't forget that as you're going through your curriculum, spinning around everything you do is oral language and language usage. Spinning around every single thing you do is the content development and the assessed objectives. As we wrap it up today, don't forget, these strategies, these routines, this mindset is helpful for all children, harmful to none, and critical to some. Please, 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 productive struggle. Celebrate it. Make a school campaign on productive struggle. Go back to your class, to your schools, and say, let's celebrate hard work. Let's celebrate hard work. I want you to climb to the top with your students. First, short read. Second, short read. First, long read. Second, long read. Assessment. Multiple encounters, multiple contexts. Keep it light, keep it bright, keep in touch. Thank you very much. By the way, if anybody's interested in selfies, I'll be out there. Oh, thank you.
Gracias, Hector. I'm still thinking about the picture of the cake. So I'd like you to think about the cake as we proceed through the week. Take a bite, eat at your own pace. Talk to people about the cake. See, think, talk. Go eat some cake, and we will see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. back here. Have a great evening.
So here, if you could just take your calendar.
See you around.
Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. Bye-bye. Bye.
Excellent job.
Thank you. See you tomorrow, inshallah. I'll have another live session for you. Bye-bye.